button.
Begin the countdown.
The climate change countdown has begun. The King of England just had one of his minions push the big red button.
Begin the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Initiating the countdown of the climate change doomsday clock, with the timer set to end in the year 2030. And if humanity doesn't comply, we will all perish, of course, and the Earth will be destroyed unless we do everything they say right now. But thank goodness all the previous climate change doomsday predictions have all come to pass and nothing ever happened. But this one feels a little different, right? I mean, they do have a doomsday clock, for crying out loud. Unfortunately, Greta couldn't be there because she was on the front lines in Ukraine meeting with Zelensky, wondering like the rest of us, where did all the money go? But don't worry, they have a plan. And in fact, the World Economic Forum was just in China discussing this plan at the exact same time that the King of England was pushing the red button of the climate change doomsday clock. Here's their plan.
Regulation also has a larger role because some of the problems that we're faced with, energy transition, climate change, in my view, will not be solved with just market participants. And that's where we also need regulation to make sure that the market, that the invisible hand of Adam Smith is actually doing its work and that we're nudged towards the right solutions. So that, in my view, is an important part of regulation as well, to make sure that, for example, the energy transition actually happens.
As you can see, the WEF puppet is lobbying for governments and industries around the world to impose regulations on people and businesses to enforce their vision of compliance with the climate agenda and the energy transition.
So regulation with taxes and incentives then can nudge us towards a right direction to solve these problems, to make it easier for us to invest in all these green opportunities, because ultimately we need to generate a return.
The plan is to tax and regulate us into submission based on our carbon footprint so they can get a return on their investments. And more importantly, control every aspect of our lives. At the end of the day, this has nothing to do with climate or emissions. We are currently witnessing on a global scale the implementation of United Nations Agenda 21, and the 2030 Agenda is an important milestone of Agenda 21. This is a UN program that seeks to subvert nations' sovereignty and to infringe upon fundamental basic human rights justified by an existential threat, just like they did with COVID. Everything we just saw. It's the playbook. In fact, COVID-1984 greatly accelerated Agenda 21 via a manufactured crisis and introduced new tools of control which would have never been accepted by the masses if it wasn't for a scary emergency. For example, tools of control like vaccine passports, which was simply the rollout of digital IDs. And guess what? They're not going away, are they? Now, does anyone really believe the most rich and powerful people in the world, the most influential organizations, corporations, and governments are really doing all of this because they want to save you, because they give a damn about you? No. At the end of the day, we must recognize that when organizations like the World Economic Forum discuss private-public partnerships to achieve their goals, they are simply rebranding fascism and plan to enslave humanity under the false pretense of saving it because of a crisis they created. This is classic problem reaction solution. The countdown they have started is not a climate countdown. It's a compliance countdown, and the clock is ticking. The climate change countdown has begun.